Hey there, in this lesson we are going to continue talking about genetic diversity and we're going to fill in our notes on crossing over. So in a previous lesson we talked about how independent assortment of homologous chromosomes during meiosis can lead to an increased genetic diversity in offspring. Well, there is another or a second event that can occur during meiosis that can also increase genetic variation. So again, we're starting in prophase 1 of meiosis. So we have homologous pairs of chromosomes, right? They pair up during prophase 1. So just like when we talked about independent assortment, we have our pairs of homologous chromosomes lining up, but they are going to kind of stick together, okay? And that process is called synapsis. The reason this is important is because sometimes these sister chromatids, right, these homologous chromosomes, okay, they swap segments of DNA with each other. And the exact location where this crossing over happens is called the chiasma. So the most important thing here is this whole swapping segments of DNA. So this is called crossing over because if we take a look at our picture here, right, we have our three pairs of our homologous chromosomes. They have, right, independently assorted themselves here in metaphase 1, but we can see where some of the arms, right, of these chromosomes, they are kind of overlapping each other. That's what we're talking about when we say crossing over. So the crossing over happens a lot, and it greatly increases genetic diversity. So if we look here now at the end of meiosis 1, we can see, right, that our chromosomes have just a little bit of DNA, right, like right here, right, that is not original to that chromosome. So you had some swapping of DNA. So crossing over, right, it shuffles the genetic regions, which pretty much ensures that any offspring or children, right, that come from the same parents, right, they are never going to be exactly like their parents or their siblings, because you're shuffling that genetic deck. You have that crossing over. So we have created a completely new chromosome, right, with new DNA. So a chromosome that results from a crossing over is called a recombinant chromosome. Okay, so gametes with recombinant chromosomes are called recombinant gametes. Gametes that have chromosomes that are just like their parents' chromosomes are called parental gametes. So this word right here, recombinant, we're going to come across this again a little bit later in the semester. But basically, recombinant just means we have recombined, right, the genes, right, or all of the DNA within that chromosome. Okay. So here's your first gamete, your second gamete, your third gamete, and your fourth gamete. And each of them, right, is just a little bit different from each other because of that crossing over, right, that occurred, but also because of that independent assortment of chromosomes as they lined up. So during meiosis, there are two events that occur that can increase genetic variation. So that is it for these notes on crossing over. If you have any questions or concerns, just let me know.